After the most exciting and intense Stanley Cup playoffs we have ever seen, it is finally over. The Pittsburgh Penguins have won the Stanley Cup again. This is their fifth in their franchise history, and they're the first team to go back-to-back since the Red Wings in the late 90s to go back-to-back. But this didn't come easy for the Penguins. This team overcame a lot more adversity than they did last year. And I'm going to give the fair analysis on this. First off, I owe a huge apology to Nashville fans out there. I was kind of hard on your fan base a little bit. I was kind of hard on you guys a little bit, but you guys didn't just get there by accident. Your team was the most consistent team out there in the field this year. For a team to barely get in but make it all the way to the final, that just deserves huge props. And I wouldn't mind seeing you guys in the final again next year. But the Penguins had to overcome injuries to Chris Letang, Nick Bonino, Schultz, Hornquist, Rust, Sheary, Crosby. It seemed like every single player on the Penguins at some point was injured, with the exception of Phil Kessel. And they did overcome almost blowing a 3-1 deficit against the Washington Capitals in the second round. Had to overcome winning a Game 7 against Washington. Had to overcome winning a Game 7 against Ottawa. Had to respond after getting blown out in Games 3 and 4 in Nashville. But Matt Murray responded really well in Games 5 and 6. I mean, he responded in the best way that you can. Let's quickly go through the Stanley Cup final recap. Game 1, that was a really fun game. It started off with what we thought was a PK Subban goal, but the Pittsburgh review guy made a clutch call to Mike Sullivan to challenge that play. And it was determined that it was an offsides. And it triggered a 3-goal first period for Pittsburgh. But then Nashville came back, including 2 goals on a power play. And the third and tying goal in that was kind of a defensive miscommunication between Ole Mata and I think it was Brian Dumoulin. It was either him or Dumoulin or Trevor Daley. I don't remember which one it was. But when we thought that game was going to go into overtime. But with about 3.5 minutes left, rookie Jake Gensel came through in the clutch, giving the Penguins a 4-3 lead, and then Nick Bonino with the empty netter to make it 5-3. Game 2, Nashville scored early in the first period, but Jake Gensel once again in Game 2 comes through in the clutch, tying the game in Game 2 at 1 at the end of the first period. Second period was a lot of great goaltending by both goalies. But then within 10 seconds of the third period, Jake Gensel, right place, the right time, puts the Penguins up 2-1, and it ignited a bunch of other goals in the third period, which Pekka Rinne was pulled out in the middle of the third period in Game 2. In Game 3, Jake Gensel scored the first goal, but the Predators scored 5 unanswered. In Game 4, kind of the same story. Nashville scores first, but Crosby comes back about a minute later to tie the game, but Nashville scores 4 unanswered goals. Game 5 is where the Penguins had to respond. But the turning point in that game was on the first shift when Crosby draws a power play within the first minute of the game. And that's when their power play came back to form as Justin Schultz put the Penguins on the board 1-0 within 90 seconds in that game. And then it triggered goal after goal in Game 5. And the Penguins won 6-0. Then tonight's Game 6. This was the best game of the series. It could have gone either way. Both goalies were magnificent. Both Matt Murray and Pekka Rinne. But both teams had some chances. In fact, it looked like Nashville was going to take a 1-0 lead at the start of the second period. But the refs announced the whistle had blown before the goal went through the net. So it was a no goal, and we were still deadlocked at 0. Nashville had 4 chances on the power play in Game 6 compared to the Penguins 0. But in the Stanley Cup winning moment, with 1 minute and 35 seconds left, Patrick Hornquist, the guy who was traded to the Penguins for James Neal, scores the Stanley Cup winning goal for the Penguins. And Carl Hagelin also had an empty net goal for the Penguins to win Game 6, 2-0. Just as I had predicted, the Penguins winning in 6. But there's a lot to look forward to in hockey. There's the expansion draft, the NHL draft, free agency. So the NHL season doesn't stop. We'll kind of talk more about the expansion draft, NHL draft a little bit within the next couple of days. So I'm going to be a busy person this week. We're going to see a lot of videos up here this week. That is all I have for you tonight. Have a great night, everybody. Follow me on Twitter, JB Talk Sports. Like and subscribe and share. I will see you next time.